And one of Mexico's most powerful cartel leaders were just killed, and a major tourist resort is spiraling into complete chaos here. So after a military raid on the CJNG cartel, El Mencho was killed. Basically, El Mencho being the top dog, top general guy, okay? Listen, so right after this, the cartel gunmen immediately flooded the streets of Puerto Vallarta. Listen, so now we have the Mexico travel advisory along with the U.S. State Department warning tourists to basically shelter in place and don't move, guys, because listen, there's a lot of craziness happening right now on the streets. Please, under no circumstance, go outside. This is not for you. If you can, get out, okay? Listen, guys, this wasn't just a raid here. Like, this could easily start a full-blown cartel retaliation cycle. This is where we are right now in the story, guys. Let's go ahead and jump to the video immediately, see where this takes us here.
This is a Fox News alert. We're continuing to monitor the situation unfolding in Mexico, where the U.S. Embassy has put out a security alert for all American citizens to shelter in place. This comes amid reports of violence erupting in the state of Jalisco. Tourists at a resort in the city of Puerto Vallarta were told not to leave the resort, while photos and video shared with Fox News Digital
pure chaos,
billowing dark smoke, clouding the skyline of the city. This frightening situation occurs after Mexican security forces say they killed one of the most notorious drug cartel leaders in their country, El Mencho, head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. All right, so this comes not just in a vacuum. It comes in context of President Trump declaring the cartels foreign terrorist organizations and taking out Maduro. Would Mexico be doing this if it hadn't been for the pressure President Trump is putting on them?
I don't believe so. I mean, I don't know the domestic politics of Mexico in depth. I know that Mexico has, every leader we've seen in Mexico has tried to find some way to, I guess, live with these cartels, maybe out of fear, maybe out
avoid them completely,
corrupt in bed with them. I'm not sure, but I think President Trump's made it clear that we're not going to stand for it, and they're just a little bit. Listen, if Democrats want us to have an open border, we can just jump across that border going in the other direction and take care of some of these folks. And so,
that's logical.
Rather than letting the cartels in, we're going to push the door, make it open the other way, and send some folks in down there. It's kind of been the threat with President Trump in this administration. We did see what happened in Venezuela, and I don't think Mexico is far off from that. I don't think we're going to try to overthrow the government, but these cartels aren't waging war. These cartels are waging war on us, not just Mexico. And for that reason, we have every right in the world to have an interest in them going away. And it seems like Mexico maybe feels empowered, maybe supported. I'm not sure what we're doing is in the shadows, but it looks like they're taking steps to correct that.
Yeah, I like that idea of open borders work both ways. That's very, very cool. Look,
I mean, guys, that's the logical extreme, but obviously the people who you're actually talking about are not saying that same thing. Understand this here. They want us to be open to everyone else, but obviously not for us to enter into someone else's country, right? Understand this is kind of what they're talking about when they say this here. It's all hypocrisy.
I forgot his name. He's
El Mencho.
El Mencho. That's
El Mencho.
Convicted in 1994, spent 3 years in prison in the U.S. and was released. And he goes back and he's like flooding the country with fentanyl. Tommy, what's going on here? Where we have these people in jail and we release them, and then they go back and when terrorists, they kill Americans. With drug cartel leaders, they go back and poison Americans. Why are we?
We've got repeat offenders on the street of every major American city, right? This feels like a running narrative. We got to end it. I think President Trump has mentioned more than once that he is more than happy to assist with President Sheinbaum, if she so desires, in dealing with their cartel problem. Now, up until now, I don't think that she's necessarily given him the green light to do so. Maybe
she's not going to.
What's going on right now will change that. I certainly hope so. But I will also say this, just to the point on the Americans that are in Mexico being asked to shelter in place at their resorts. I can't imagine how terrifying that is right now because of what's going on. And we're seeing images all over social media. I mean, it looks like a war zone because it probably is.
It is.
I would also just say this. I had a friend of mine who was murdered in Mexico in Playa del Carmen about 6 or 7 years ago. Just down there on a bachelor trip or a birthday vacation, murdered in the streets and left there. Mexico, in a lot of places, is not safe for Americans. And I know a lot of Americans think if they're in a resort that everything is fine, nothing can possibly get to them there. Joey and I were talking off camera. Hey, listen, There are a lot of beautiful places in the United States of America that are warm and sunny, Florida being one of them, a heck of a lot safer. So perhaps Americans should consider that, especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah, I definitely would say absolutely under no circumstance not travel and see the world. I get it. I understand that what's happening right now is absolutely scary, but the last thing we need to do is basically promote the idea of Americans being even more insular than we actually are here, guys. Listen, I am someone that has been to 140 countries. So, take my information as, however you want to take it, let's say this year. But I definitely would suggest Americans to travel and see more than the 3 states that basically touch their state for the entirety of their life on average. Okay. There are beautiful things out there, but obviously stay away from places that are pretty much being ran by a narco princess. Let's just say this here. That would basically be Mexico, kind of by default here, but let's continue. We'll talk more towards the end.
The former Dutch West Indies, which are now the U.S. Virgin Islands.
There you go.
Them from the Dutch. So Molly, just look at the record. President Trump, he got Soleimani. He got the Abbey Gate bomber. He got the Benghazi terrorists. He got Maduro. And now through pressure on the Mexican government, he got El Mencho. That's a heck of a record.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
If I was the Ayatollah Khamenei, would I be a little bit nervous?
Yeah, there was a $15 million bounty on El Mencho. So he's been out there among the most wanted men involved in these cartel activities for quite a long time. And of course, the great credit goes to the Mexican military here.
Definitely.
As well. And actually, as we're talking about Claudia Sheinbaum, the President Jillian Turner, our State Department anchor and reporter, just flagged that she put out a statement talking about how this did result in various blockades and other reactions, and also offering praise to the Mexican Army, the National Guard, the armed forces, which brings me back to what you brought up at the very beginning, Mark, where you talked about the pressure that President Trump, at the very beginning of this new second administration, put on not just Mexico, but on Canada in redefining what these cartels mean broadly, that they're terrorist organizations.
Absolutely.
And kind of drawing and putting this pressure on through tariffs to a certain extent, which makes it interesting and perhaps notable in the Supreme Court's most recent decision. So we'll be seeing how this continues and how the pressure continues on these states. But as you mentioned, there have been these big successes, including reining in the fentanyl trade and reducing deaths here in America. So this perhaps is just one more part of that.
Absolutely huge.
And obviously, beyond that, a very dangerous situation still unfolding. A lot of Americans' precarious situations right at this moment.
Last week, I was in the mountains in North Carolina, and I ran into a guy. He is a traveling explorer. Let's just say this here. He had the explorer hat and all these things here, guys. Absolutely interesting individual, world traveler. He was there basically photographing the North Carolina Blue Ridge Parkway. He is, in fact, from Mexico City. Okay. Now, so we're having a full blown conversation up in the mountains, like literally, mountain air, et cetera, sitting down in our chairs, these type of things here. And he basically said, hey, listen, it's interesting how Sheinbaum specifically says that she is not, in fact, associated in any meaningful manner, let's say, to the cartel, but Mexico is basically one gigantic cartel. This is someone that is living in Mexico City, from Mexico City, basically saying, that it is, in fact, a narco-based country here. Now, Trump basically saying, hey, listen, I know what's going on. Let's stop playing the game here. I mean, I get it. You want to play the game. But if you ask someone that's actually from there, they say, this is what it is. It is what it is. You were put in place, and everyone else that was basically put in place to run the country of Mexico are in some way associated to it, because you cannot do anything without being associated to it. Apparently, in his words here. Understand, I did not bait him to say these things. I was just listening to him speak, and I'm just like, dude, really now? That's interesting, because externally, Sheinbaum says that has nothing to do with us. Don't call us a narco state. But it's just like, dudes, you are a narco state. And this is why Trump has deemed, the organizations that are running within your country exactly what they are. Right? Terrible organizations that absolutely have the ability to delete people en masse, guys. Right? But all right, listen, guys, we're going to follow the story. Hopefully this ends as fast as humanly possible. But again, it is hostile there, right? And specifically right now, this has the ability to definitely create some type of retaliatory events. And I'm not sure I'm ready for that type of thing, because a lot of innocent people are going to be involved in a whole bag of literal nonsense, guys. All right? But listen, try to have an amazing day. Again, if there's more to the story, we'll definitely encounter it. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later.